Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the final snow church for 2022. Not going to get into rehashing 2022. Don't have the time for it. Just doing one video today. I think that's pretty much what I'm going to try to be sticking to, is just one video a day, rather than trying to create a shorty and then a long one. Just try to keep one that's around 7-8 minutes long or so. So let's get going on this. I'm already 30 seconds into this. Snowfall map for the last 24 hours ending this morning, and shows that little swath of snow we had fall from Nebraska through portions of Minnesota, far northwest Wisconsin, even some sections of the western UP, the Keweenaw, coming in with like a wet dusting or so of snow, a little bit more than that in areas of southwest Minnesota, southeast South Dakota. Radar, rain, doe. Yes, sir, folks. This is the rain that's moving through, and we talked about this, how there would be an area of heavier rain moving across the southern Midwest during the day today. Pretty quiet elsewhere, though. And as far as the forecast goes, well, I've got encouraging news. I don't want to label it as good news just yet because we're still far enough out that things could change. But encouraging news, and that being that the models have finally come into better agreement. They're not in perfect agreement, but better agreement for the forecast for the storm next Monday and Tuesday. And it was the GFS that made the compromises this time. And that's what we all wanted to see. We didn't want to see the main snow band up here across the Dakotas, far northwest Minnesota, unless you're living there. We wanted to see the snow band down around here. And that's pretty much what we got going on. I'm going to show you the three different scenarios. This is the European model. And we'll just kind of zip out here. This takes us all the way to Wednesday evening because there's a little tiny little bit of lake effect snow possible behind this system, but there isn't any kind of a big dump of cold air or anything like that coming in behind the low. And you can see how it's moved itself back up north, kind of centered itself across, good chunk of northern Wisconsin and in the UP, southern Minnesota getting it. So this would be a pretty favorable snowfall outlay for us snow lovers. Northern Minnesota, you're in pretty good shape already. I know you'd want to see some more freshies, but what we don't want to see is the rains or the non-snow precipitation get into that area. And that's what this model is saying. So let's jump to the good old GFS. And here's its idea. You can still see that it's the furthest north with the snow band, but it's not way up in these areas. It's come down. It's not right where we would probably want it to be, because it would still mean that there would be some rain south of the main snow area. And then, last but not least, our good old buddies from the north, the Canadian model. And here we go with it. Zippity-doo-dah. And believe it or not, I think that this is probably, right now, the best representation. It's sort of a compromise between the GFS and the European. And, it's been pretty consistent with this for the last couple of days. I checked the ensemble models, and the European ensemble is actually very similar looking to this. And the GFS ensembles, as they're supposed to be, not all over the road, but several different solutions. So basically, I don't want to get into the details on the ensemble, but they force errors into the model just to kind of create some differences in each model run. And they don't create huge errors or huge differences when they start the models, because they don't want it to go off on wild tangents, but they kind of want to come up with Well, you take like 15 model runs and you change each one a little bit and then see what the average of all of those differences are. And that's basically the idea behind the ensemble. I think it's a great idea, actually. Ensemble runs are not always the best, but it is an interesting forecast technique. And I do follow the ensembles pretty regularly as well. So at any rate, would be the and this is pretty close to my forecast map has a broader area because I kind of wanted to just show all the potentiality for who could get the snows. But honestly, if I had to draw it specifically, put a gun to my head, this would probably be the closest representation of what to expect in the Monday, Tuesday time frame. Anywhere within this purple, you're talking about probably 8 to 10 inches of snow, maybe a little bit more. Minneapolis is indicated to get 12.9 based on this idea. And even more than that as you head off to the west of the Twin Cities. There's some totals reaching, I don't know what that would be, but definitely upper teens, maybe even low 20s. The specifics like that of exactly how much fall, I don't want to put too much faith into, but this general track looks pretty good. And look at the Rockies getting lambasted. So for you folks wanting to head out west or planning to head out west in the coming week or two, you're going to be in pretty decent shape. And then beyond that Monday, Tuesday system, all the models are in pretty good agreement that things are going to be quiet. They will be cooler than we've been the last couple of days, probably more like Tuesday was this week, with highs in the low to mid 20s across the Northwoods, and lows even colder than that. The freeze line is indicated to shape up maybe just north of I-80 for much of next week. So it looks like if we can get those snows in the Northwoods rather than rains, and then cool temperatures but not cold, bitterly cold or anything like that, should be some primal riding. Maybe the deep powder hounds won't get as much freshies as they'd like to see, but for the trail riders, should be magnificento, as long as we don't get those rains in areas of the most popular riding spots early next week. Unfortunately, it does look like northern lower Michigan will be getting some slop here the early part of next week, but maybe they can get a couple of inches of snow on top of it to freshen things up a little bit. Well, that's going to do it for this one and for the year. Have yourselves a wonderful new year, everybody. Be safe. Keep those sticks on the ice. And I will talk to you next year. Hello?